Hello, all the people of the internet world, specifically the people that want to know about guitar plugins and gear and all that stuff and whatnot. It is I, Johnny. I play in bands. You might know them, maybe not, probably not. We're pretty niche and small. Today is a fun day because it's new plugin day. My good friend Mike Stringer has created a wonderful, unbiased opinion, a wonderful plugin with the people over at Mixwave. To create this Spiritbox experience for you guitar players out there. There's a lot going on in this plugin. There's a lot going on in this that I don't even know if I can comprehend or understand. I just did what I thought made sense, and by God, we're going to talk about it. I'm basically just going to go down tone by tone. We're going to talk about what they're doing. Each one of these tones will be available in the plugin at launch. And yeah, let's get right into it. So this first tone that I'm going to show you is a clean tone that I started to write the entire song with first. I wrote this clean part, and I wrote everything else around it. So we're using the purple channel of this amp, and I got to say, it sure does look absolutely beautiful as well. You change the channels with this knob right here. And this one is great for, obviously, all the clean stuff. I based this clean tone off of the default clean tone, but I got a little bit more in depth, and I'll show you as we go along here. The number one coolest feature that you might notice right off the bat with this plugin is you can move these blocks anywhere you want and decide your signal chain in the easiest way possible. You don't have to get crazy. They're just little blocks that you can move around, which is super user-friendly and super aesthetically awesome. The very first thing I have in this chain is a chorus effect. It's not doing anything super insane. I mean, the depth is pretty high, but the mix is relatively low. Kind of just gives it that nice, almost 80s feel. The amp is also pretty straightforward. When you open this up the day of launch, you can plug this thing in and see what it's doing. The thing that isn't standard across the board is this cab section. Now, this is probably one of the most thorough cab sections in any plugin, and we've used a lot of them. You can literally choose between all four positions. You can change all of the mics. You can change the actual cones themselves. I have V30s in there right now for the first one, but like the second one, I have greenbacks in there with a ribbon 84. There's a lot of options for microphones, as you can see. You can really go just absolutely crazy. You can adjust the polarity, the focus, contour. There's a lot going on with this that, like I said before, I almost barely understand it. I definitely messed around with this for a while. I feel like a lot of the tone shaping comes from this section. I used everything stock in this plugin in terms of I didn't really do any extra effects on top of anything. I didn't really do any extra EQs, none of that stuff. This is the only instance in which I use a different plugin, and I use the side widener just to make that mono center guitar track feel like more of a stereo image. But besides that, it's all coming from the plugin, baby. After the cab, I have some effects hitting it at the very end. This reverb is really, really cool. It's on shimmer right now, but I actually have it as Hall. And these three are just absolutely awesome. The shimmer one in particular sounds a lot like the Axe Effect shimmer, is what I said to Mike when I first started messing around with this, and that's definitely a compliment because that shimmer is, in my opinion, very, very classic. But yeah, I have it on Hall for now. And then this delay plugin could easily be its own video. There's so much going on with this delay plugin, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in the next tone that we're going to have. But let's take a little listen to what this sounds like first. How cool is that delay? I love it. I just love listening to it. All right, so this is where things get a little bit crazy here in terms of the delay plugin like I was talking about. I really wanted to create like a waterfall effect, so I tracked 3 different notes that kind of just fall in succession to each other, and I wanted to create this really wild stereo image. And how I did that is I obviously just panned everything accordingly, but within the plugin itself, the delay pedal is doing all of the work because it has this incredible reverse function. And this is my favorite thing about this entire plugin, is this reverse function right here. I have it as wet as it can be, a little bit of dry mixed in there so you can actually hear me pluck the note. But besides that, like, I want it creates this really cool like breathing feeling because it's pulling the notes backwards, and it sounds just awesome in context. So let's take a listen to that real quick. Like I said, this is my favorite part of the plugin. This delay tone is awesome. And once again, it'll be available when the plugin drops. You can mess with it and play with it all you want. So the next one we have on here is a lead tone. I wouldn't say that doing lead tones is necessarily my expertise. It's not my my area of expertise. But this plugin made it easy to kind of just mess around with it. Once again, I kind of based this tone off of the default tone, but made it a little bit more spicy. So I have this overdrive pedal first. That's pretty cranked on top. That really just makes it rip. And then I have the gain obviously boosted on here, and the depth and presence. And this is the red channel, obviously, which is super sweet that I recommend for leads in particular. But obviously you can do whatever you want. I have some different cab stuff going on for this one as well. I have different microphones. I have different placements for all of them because obviously the way that you would mic a cab for rhythm and lead tones is different than how you would do it for cleans. This part is really crazy here, the input processing, because the DI is going to hit this first and then hit the plugin going into the signal chain. So you could go really crazy with this. I didn't touch it for this preset in particular. Then you have your signal chain, and then you have output processing. I have the output processing on, just doing what it needs to do. I didn't really touch the dials too much, but I just wanted to use it for this, and I think it worked really well for that compressed, shreddy lead tone. Let's take a little listen to that real quick. So I have the chorus effect on this one again because I just really kind of like that 80s tone. I don't know why. But yeah, so for this one, I have most of the actual like textured effects is what I would call them, the chorus reverb and delay. I have it after everything else. I think it really helps boost the lead tone. So there's another thing that I usually add to most of my songs that I'm writing, and it's an atmospheric, like huge reverby-esque layer. And this plugin also just fully excels with that. So it's pretty similar to the lead tone. I'm using the same head. I'm using the same overdrive pedal first, and obviously the cab settings are somewhat similar as well. But yeah, so the chorus is the same, but the reverb on this one is pretty cranked up, and the delay is doing its thing. Again, I have it on digital this time, but yeah, so it's pretty wet. So I use this as a texture underneath, and I didn't use any synths or anything on this song, so this was kind of doing all of the heavy lifting for this end section in particular. Sounds nice and big, nice and juicy. All right, so the very last thing that I did was obviously the rhythm tone. Rhythm tone definitely has a little bit more going on in the sense that I have the overdrive pedal is still on, but it's not as cranked, but the tone is way up, the balance is way up. This amp is the one that I would obviously recommend for the rhythm tone. And then the cab settings is where I really changed it up, and I did all of the speakers a lot closer to the cones so that I didn't really get too much of a woofy low-end feeling. I have a Solar 7-string artist series that I used. I'm recently endorsed by them, and had it tuned to drop A, and it kind of covered a lot of that low-end frequency, so I didn't really feel as though I needed to make it woofy or anything like that. I did use the input processing on this, as you can see. There's a lot going on here. And once again, you get this plugin. You can fuck with my rhythm tone all you want and change it and do whatever you want. So I have it compressed going in, and I also have it compressed going out. So this tone is just like as tight as it can possibly be. So let's kind of take a little listen here. I tried to cover everything in terms of like really chuggy stuff. some open chord stuff, a little bit more notey things. So let's kind of go by section and see how it sounds. So there's still a lot of note separation, even in the heavier overdriven chords, which is great, especially if you're writing somewhat technical stuff, or if you're using really big chord voicings. You want to hear everything in the chord, and this plugin excels at that, in my opinion. So once again, thank you to Mixwave. Thank you to Mike Stringer for letting me use this plugin and show everybody what it can do. It's an honor and a privilege to get to do that. I hope you enjoyed the song. Download this plugin right now. Go check it out. Use all the things. Use all the artist presets. Use mine or don't. Just make it your own. There's a lot of options you can do with this. Thank you so much. See you.